Hey everybody, hope you're well. I just wanted to make a wee video to let you know that I was a guest on another YouTube channel, the Amazon Research Centre for Ornamental Fishes. I was a guest of Dr. Anthony, or Dr. Awesome as we know him on this channel. We had a bit of a chat about all things fishy, our shared love of discus fish, the state of fish keeping in general across the pond here and there, and a few other bits. So I thought I'll stick together a few clips, but I'll put the link up here for his channel. If you want to see the full video, go over to his channel, check that out. Leave a like, leave a subscribe. It always helps to share the love around the YouTube fishiverse.
Graeme has a very interesting YouTube channel. I put the YouTube channel there in the banner. Please subscribe to him. It's a hoot because not only does he talk fish, he gives reviews of local beers. And so how many beers have you tried on your channel?
Well, I have to preface this by saying this is purely for research purposes. This isn't an alcoholic.
Yes, exactly. Thing. That's right. That's why I said you give reviews. I didn't say you get drunk on air. You give reviews.
I think I'm up to about 60 or 70. And we've been trying for a while. I've got a spreadsheet where I track my favourites and least favourites. But it makes for an interesting live stream because I usually do 2 hours on a Friday night here. And by the end of the 2 hours, sometimes it's a little bit, yes,
so,
it can.
So how did that start? I mean, what
how did that start?
What possessed you to start saying, well, you're probably had a beer while you give your live stream anyway, because it's Friday night. So then you decided, hey, let's kind of make this part of the show.
So it is a Friday night, so that's the end of the working week for me. It's let my hair down, as you can see.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
and then I think you're quite right. I had a beer going once, and someone said, "Oh, why are you drinking that much? You should try this. You should try that." And as a Scotsman, we have a bit of a reputation for being drinkers, I guess. And I've never really been into the whole craft beer scene. It's always just tasted like a mucky puddle, I used to call it.
Okay.
So I thought I'll indulge some of my viewers. One of my subscribers sent me a box of craft beers and said, try these on stream. And then it just became a bit of a thing where people would either send me beers, buy me vouchers, or ask me to try something on stream. And here we are a year later where I've now refined my palate and know what ones I like and what ones I hate. So it kind of grew over the months and years. So the Friday night live streams is fishy themed.
Yes.
But there's lots of other things going on in there. We often talk about films, we have a quiz, random nonsense that we end up talking about. The long form videos are usually more fish themed and fish centric, but the live stream's a bit of a free for all.
The worst incident ever keeping fish.
So there's a clear winner for this. This was about, I want to say, maybe 10 years ago now, where it was over Christmas and my family all lived in Scotland. My wife's family all lived down south. And we'd gone up to Scotland before Christmas and spent like a week with the family. And then we were coming down to my house for Christmas Day with the other half of the family. And we came home and my big discus tank had sprung a leak at some point, which had spurted water into the electrical outlet, killed all the power in the house, ruined the floor. So we came into an almighty stench of rotting fish. But not only that, the Christmas turkey that was in the freezer was all melted and rotten, and it ruined Christmas. And I'm surprised I'm still here, to be honest. The look that I got from my wife that day, what's happened here? So Christmas Day was spent sourcing carrots and potatoes from neighbours, mopping up dead fish and opening all the windows in the freezing cold, trying to get the god-awful smell out of the house. That was the one time that it really tested my resolve as to whether or not fish keeping was for me.
Yes.
It did not go well. So that's the clear favourite of the worst thing that's ever happened.
You seem to have there's a common theme about leaking tanks with you, isn't there?
Well, some people say it's my unique selling point is I am the disaster. I just haven't met all the disasters that are coming my way yet.
You're the DIY king in this case, but it's the
disaster
in your
myself,
fish room
yes.
king.
So I like to think I'm performing a public service of, because I show everything. I show my disasters as well as my successes. And if I'm trying something, if it works, great, it works. If it doesn't work, at least you know not to do it like that. That's my thing. But yes, I've had a few trials and tribulations. My main one recently is I've been building my own DIY tank. So I've been calling it Mega Tank. So it's like 8 foot by 4 foot by 3 foot. I've been building it for about a year and I just could not get it to hold water no matter what I tried. But that's purposely because I was doing it against the conventional wisdom. So I didn't do it the same way everyone else did because I thought I knew better and I didn't. So I should have just done it the way everyone else does it. But we got there in the end. I now have a big tank holding lots of water. And so far, touch wood, it's been okay for the past 2 or 3 months now.
You know, I feel you because, you know, I built big tanks at our public aquarium in Peru, and they weren't major leaks, it's just pinhole leaks but since it was made out of plywood, even though we fiberglass the plywood and use 2-part epoxy, it would find its way into those tanks. And this went on for, 6-9 months. It was so frustrating. Finally, we just tore them all down and ended up, having tanks shipped in from China, fiberglass tanks. So that's, I understand what it's like to be so frustrated that everything you do, it just keeps on leaking.
Yeah, I mean, it made for great content. Everyone really enjoyed my emotional turmoil that I was going through as I was trying to get this thing. And the most frustrating part of it is that I didn't do anything all that different in the end. And it just finally decided to hold water. So I've always got that kind of fear in the back of my mind that it's going to go one day, it's going to go, it's going to... But no, touch wood, we're okay.
That's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today was actually the difference between the hobby there in the UK or in Europe, but specifically the UK, and the hobby here in the United States, in that, cost of things are maybe different or maybe the same. So let's say a neon tetra, a typical bread and butter fish that we've all seen in the hobby at any pet store, the big box stores, or your local your live fish stores. So what would be the cost of a neon tetra?
So I had to look this up earlier because I'm always... Is it the price I've told my wife the fish was? Is it the price I know the fish was?
Exactly. So, exactly. Yeah.
I looked on a few sites and noticed that in local shops they're going for around about £3 each, which I think it's something like $1.20 to a pound. So you're kind of talking $4 or $5 a fish, something like that.
Okay. So,
but I remember them being half that price a year ago. So it seems to be a very volatile thing, the pricing of fish, depending on the season, availability, that kind of thing. I bought, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, I bought 100 cardinal tetras for £80, so less than a pound of fish.
Oh, okay. So,
but today that would be twice that.
Yes. Do you know if these are European bred or wild fish?
These were wild caught fish, yeah.
Okay, so that's for a wild cardinal. That's a really good price.
Because
for even some of the cardinals that we get out of Southeast Asia, they can be, $4 or $5 each. And these are farm raised, massively produced.
That brings in a good point. These are called wild caught fish.
Okay, yeah.
Whether they are or not, it depends on the person that's importing them, I guess.
Yeah. So, are there very many local aquarium clubs in UK? Here it depends on where you're at. Southern California, we have a couple. East coast of the US has a lot of clubs. So it's a hit and miss thing. They come and go. So what are the local aquarium societies like in the UK?
It's probably very similar. Now, obviously, the UK is a lot smaller.
Yes.
But with that comes, I remember talking to someone who was talking about visiting the local fish store, which involved a 2.5 hour drive each way. And that
Okay.
made me think, that's not local. We
Yeah.
have people who moan when they have to drive for 20 minutes to get to their local fish store. But up and down the country, the club scene seems fairly healthy in that most areas are covered by a club of one form or another.
Mhm.
It's more that they're not as well attended, run, publicized. I've been a member of my local fish club for a while, but nothing ever happened other than auctions. So there was very few meets where you got to
Oh,
go
okay.
and speak to
Yeah.
them. They have got lots better in the last 10 years or so, where they do bring in experts to talk about a particular species or someone that's done a trip somewhere, and they'll come and tell us all about that. But the main difference I've seen is over here, a lot of the clubs, rather than being generalists about all kind of fish, you'll have
Mhm.
a guppy club or a Corydorus club or a catfish club, and we're only here to talk about catfish, or we're only here to talk about this. So you have to find your way in to get one of the ones that suits your needs, really. But as far as I can tell, certainly with the internet, most areas are covered. It's just that they're not very well advertised, so you
Mhm.
do have to go and seek them out. It's one of the most popular questions I get on most of my videos. Anytime I post a video about anything club related, they're saying, "Oh, where can I get? When do they meet? What do they do?" And
Yeah.
you really have to search for the information, which is strange when you think about the whole point of a club is to get people together and get them talking
And
about these things
and to try to get more members.
and get more members
Yeah.
so they can
Yeah.
grow and get more money. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's probably because in the olden days, fish clubs were very much the domain of the uber geek or the
Mhm.
uber. I know I'm a fish weirdo, but
Yeah. Yeah.
the real fish weirdos
Yeah.
go to these places.
I
And
resemble that comment, so don't be saying that.
yeah, I resemble it too. But it can be off-putting. The first time I ever went to one, I was petrified. I didn't know what to do, who to talk to. It's not like when you're a kid and you just go head first into these things. This is okay. Is this normal? Am I being a normal person going to a room full of strange people and talking about fish?
I
I'm
hope
not
no
sure
one
about this.
sees me, no one recognizes me,
Yeah.
because it's always, no, it's not like you go out to public and talk about these things with people.
I know.
A lot of people, they hear you have fish, they have this idea that the aquarium's going to stink. Is it hard to take care of fish? They have all these ideas that really aren't true for the most part for serious hobbyists. You walk into a serious hobbyist house, they may not even have any tanks in the main house. They're probably gonna have a fish room.
And that's one of the things I think is missing from the club scene over here is there isn't really anything for the beginner, for the introduction to fish keeping. And I've toyed with the idea a few times of trying to get something off the ground. We've talked about it on my streams as well, of having fish meets or fish events and having somewhere for the normal person to come and ask questions. The person who's got children that fancy an aquarium, somewhere safe to ask questions and get sensible answers, because a lot of your Facebook groups and all that kind of stuff, they're very adversarial. They're very it's just not a nice place to promote a hobby, and I'm all about promoting the hobby in a positive way. So I'd like to have something where you could send these people to say, well, if you're interested and want to learn more without being patronized, without being aggressively called an idiot or whatever it might be, that's the thing and don't get me wrong, most of the clubs that I've had any engagements with have all been fine. But it's that missing step of how do you go from being slightly interested and wanting to learn a little bit to uber geek and wanting to know everything about everything. There's a bit of a disconnect, I think. that was just a few short clips from the stream that we did with Dr. Anthony. If you want to see the whole thing, I'll leave a link in the description below. Go and click that. Check out his channel. Please consider subscribing or dropping a like if you like that thing. Loads of good information on that channel as well. If you want to have me as a guest on your channel, or you want to be a guest on my channel, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Send me an email, reach out somehow, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you for joining me. Bye.